Good morning, children. Jai Gurudev. Today we are going to do chapter 10, Respiration in Organisms. Whenever you run or you do heavy exercises, you start breathing heavily. Why do you do so? You do it to take more oxygen in. And why do you need more oxygen during exercises? Because you need more energy. But does oxygen give you energy or it is food that gives you energy? The fact is that the food that we take gives us energy, but oxygen is needed to do so. The food has stored energy which is released during respiration. Therefore, all living organisms respire to get energy from food. So, what is respiration? It is not just the breathing in and breathing out of air. During breathing, we breathe in air that contains oxygen. This air that we breathe in is transported to all the body parts through blood, and it ultimately reaches to each and every cell. In the cells, the oxygen which is present in the air helps in the breakdown of food. The process of breakdown of food in the cell with the release of energy is called cellular respiration. So here this process takes place in the cell where the energy is released from the food in the presence of oxygen. Cellular respiration takes place in all the cells of the organisms. Now there are two types of respiration. In the cell, the food which we call glucose is broken down into carbon dioxide and water in the presence of oxygen. When breakdown of glucose occurs with the use of oxygen, it is called aerobic respiration, and when the food is broken down without using oxygen, it is called anaerobic respiration. So here you can see the equation of the breakdown of food in the presence of oxygen. What is the result? Glucose is broken down to give us carbon dioxide, water and energy. But in absence of air also this process takes place, but only in few organisms such as yeast. The glucose is broken down in the absence of oxygen, but here instead of water alcohol is produced. So alcohol, carbon dioxide and energy are the three things that is produced in anaerobic respiration. And those organisms which show anaerobic respiration, that is in the absence of oxygen, they are called anaerobes. Our muscle cells can also respire anaerobically, but only for a short time. When you are doing heavy exercise and there is a shortage of oxygen in the body, that time this anaerobic respiration takes place. Anaerobic respiration takes place in the muscle cells to fulfill the demand of energy. The reaction here is that the glucose converts to lactic acid and energy. This partial breakdown of glucose which produces lactic acid, this lactic acid gets accumulated, deposited in the muscle and causes cramps, pain. We get relief from cramps when we give a massage, or a hot water bath gives us relief, because massaging or giving a hot water pack increases the blood circulation, because of which the supply of oxygen also increases to the muscle cells, and when increase in the oxygen is there, then the lactic acid completely breaks down into carbon dioxide and water and we get relief. So what is the difference between breathing and respiration? Breathing means taking in air which is rich in oxygen and giving out the air which is rich in carbon dioxide. That's what we say. We breathe in oxygen, we give out carbon dioxide. And in this, we take the help of our breathing organs like nose and lungs, along with trachea or windpipe. So this process is called inhalation, taking in of air, and exhalation, giving out of air. It is a continuous process which goes in our body all the time throughout our life. The number of times a person breathes in a minute is termed as breathing rate. This breathing rate increases on doing some heavy exercises. So, on average, an adult human being at rest breathes in and out for 15 to 18 times a minute, and while doing heavy exercises, this breathing rate increases up to 25 times a minute. How do we breathe? Normally, we take in air through our nostrils. When we inhale air, it passes through our nostrils into the nasal cavity. From nasal cavity, the air reaches into our lungs through windpipe. Lungs are present in the chest cavity. This cavity is surrounded by ribs on all sides. You know your lungs are protected inside the rib cage. And below the rib cage, a large muscular sheet is there which is called diaphragm, and it forms the floor to the chest cavity. It is below the chest cavity. So breathing involves the movement of diaphragm and the rib cage. Rib cage and diaphragm, they move and they help us in breathing. During inhalation, ribs move up and outwards. Diaphragm moves down. So as a result, there is a big space in between and the air rushes inside. The movement increases space. The lungs get filled with air, and during exhalation, the ribs, they will move down and inwards, and the diaphragm will move up to its previous position. As a result, there is a reduced size in the chest cavity and the air is pushed out of the lungs. These movements in our body can be easily felt if you place your hand on your chest while you are breathing. This arrangement of balloons nicely explains how a diaphragm, when it goes down, the lungs expand to fill air, and when it moves up, the lungs contract and the air moves out of our body. The breathing in animals is different, that we will discuss in the next session.